Well, starting today, the U.S. State Department will begin revoking passports for parents who owe thousands of dollars in child support. Megan Scarano is on this story this morning. Okay, do we know how many people this could impact?
Eugene, right now the program is focused on parents who owe more than $100,000 in child support, but there are plans for it to expand. And according to the Department of Health and Human Services, that would apply to about 2,700 American passport holders. But when this program expands, any parent who owes more than $2,500 in child support will have their passport revoked. Officials have not specified how many parents that would apply to. The State Department is still collecting data from state agencies to figure out that number, but until now, only people who applied to renew their passport were given a penalty. A passport can only be restored by the parent paying their child support debt. Eugene.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings be unto the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. This is the brother Yakanan from the GMS England branch. This is going to be a brief video inspired by this short clip that you just seen, and this is concerning those that owe, in back child support, having their passport revoked as a result of that. All right. And I came across this this news via this article here that you see on the bbc.co.uk, and it says US to revoke passports of parents with child support debt. Okay, so this is getting to the point, they're going all out concerning, draconian law, concerning these harsh measures, and concerning, taking away the perceived liberty, that you believe that you have, okay? But you're finding out that you have no liberty, okay? You have no rights, because everything is being stripped away, bit by bit, okay? And as we get closer to the manifestation of the mandatory MOTB, all right, the mark of the beast, Revelation 13 and 16, you're going to see how things of this nature are going to become more and more, prevalent in society, taking away, your rights, taking away your ability to move, your ability to maneuver and get around, your ability to, work, so on and so forth, because it's all about control, okay? It's all about setting up the perfect environment for that mark to be in effect in society, okay? And this is all part of it, the control, the restrictions, okay? But in this particular case, they're just using child support as a way to push it and as a way to, inject it in society. Now it says the department announced that parents who have outstanding debt of more than $2,500 in child support payments could be impacted, but would be targeting those with significant outstanding debt. Okay, and I believe from what I've been reading and watching, from various different videos, they're saying that this law was actually around since 1996. But if you will, it was just dormant. It weren't really acted upon, but it's always been there, showing you that there's many laws and policies, that Esau has, this lion in the cut. And when he's ready, he activates and starts acting upon, these laws that are already in existence. Okay? And they always do that, they're always passing, policies and, laws and, new legislation, so on and so forth in the cut, especially when there's a lot of distractions happening, all right? They be doing a lot of these things behind closed doors and people don't really know that it's going down, all right? But it's always happening. Now it says the State Department said it is using common sense tools to support American families and strengthen compliance with U.S. laws in an approach it said would enforce parents' legal and moral obligations to their children, which, it's nothing to do, with the well-being, of children. Okay, if they cared about the well-being of children, they wouldn't push and facilitate women to be alone in the household and actually profit and benefit from being alone. All right, they would ensure that the man is in the household, and they would facilitate, that environment, which they don't. Okay, which shows you that it's all hypocritical. Now it says those with such debt were advised to arrange payment to relevant state agencies to prevent passport revocation. Once a passport has been revoked, it will no longer be able to be used for travel. All right, and that reminds me of 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter, and the 17th verse. And I have it loaded up here because Esau's been having this prophecy play out, in many different ways, shapes, and forms. Different ways, shapes, and forms. Okay, pardon me. Let me get it right quick. This is 2 Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 17. And it reads, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Okay, now remember this took place also during the time of the pandemic. All right, 4 or 5 years ago. All right, well, 5 years ago now. All right, this took place where there were lockdowns and you couldn't leave the house. You couldn't travel. Flights were cancelled. Well, this is happening all over again. All right, flights are being cancelled. All right, due to the the fuel crisis. Okay, flights are getting cancelled. You just had an airline, I believe it's called Spirit Airlines. They just went bust. Okay, so they're no longer an airline anymore, which has left thousands of people stranded in different countries, so on and so forth. So things are getting real heavy upon the earth, man. All right, pure chaos is getting ready to ensue in these last days, and it's already happening. It's already begun. All right, again, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And like I said, this is going to play out and continue to happen in many different ways, shapes, and forms. All right, because we already know they're building these 15-minute cities where everything you possibly need, according to them, is going to be in that 15-minute city. So you won't have to travel more than 15 minutes to acquire anything that you may need, whether that be food, clothing, okay, leisure, activities, so on and so forth. You have 15-minute cities out there that have cinemas, okay? Anything that you could possibly think of, they're going to squish it in to that 15-minute city, all right? That's the goal. That's the plan, okay? They want everything to be on a rental-based, system, okay? That's why you have the emergence of, Netflix, where you have all of that database, just stored on your subscription to Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it might be that you use, but you won't actually own it, okay? You just watch it and access it from the app or from, your TV app, so on and so forth, okay? This whole transition to everything being digital, it goes really deep, okay? They don't want you to own cars, all right? They want you to rent cars if you have the privilege to even rent cars, because soon enough, again, they don't want you to even travel. They want you to stay on that 15-minute city, ride bikes, walk, okay? That's what it's all about. Oh, out here in the UK, everywhere you go, they're changing the roads to 20 miles per hour, okay? Sometimes even 15 miles per hour. All right, I've seen started to emerge as of recent as well. Okay, so they're trying to deter people from driving, deter people from leaving the country, deter people from traveling, to other neighboring cities. They're cracking down in a major way. All right, this is a worldwide thing that they're looking to bring, to pass, man. Okay, so like I said, this is happening in many different ways. Okay, they're limiting your your freedom to so-called travel. Okay, now it says once a passport has been revoked, it will no longer be able to be used for travel. Those whose passports are revoked won't be eligible for a new one until their child support debt has been paid, the State Department said. Okay, now that's wicked. Okay, that is totally wicked. But these are the harsh measures and these are the laws that they're bringing into society, okay? Which, again, ultimately is going to lead to full control. It's going to lead to you being chipped, okay? It's going to lead to you being a total slave to the system, more than you already are. It says this action supports the welfare of American children by exacting real consequences for child support delinquency. Under existing federal law, the department said in a statement, it says passport revocations for unpaid child support of more than $2,500 is allowed under a rarely enforced 1996 federal law. All right, so that's what I was talking about. It's been around since 1996, but it was rarely enforced, showing you that they leave particular laws and, policies and so on and so forth. They leave them dormant until a time where they're ready to really action it. Okay, showing you what else, that these things are pre-planned. Okay, these things are pre-planned, to enter in society at particular stages. Okay, it's all planned. All right, just like the MOTB, they've been wanting to do that for a very long time, but now we're seeing how it's being heavily pushed. Okay, they're heavily pushing a digital society. They're heavily pushing a cashless society. They're heavily pushing control, monetarization. They want to quantify everything. Okay, so this is going to affect people on a major level, and again, it's all leading to control. Okay, it's all leading to control. It's nothing to do with the welfare, of children. All right, it's to do with control, and that's the main thing. All right, so Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Makar Kudash. Lord willing, this brief lesson was edifying, and until next time, I'll say Shalom.